Station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
We are ready for the event.
WGN-TV, this is Mission Control Houston. Please call station for a voice check.
Deserved here.
Well, but we ran around the set.
Look at that delivery.
I totally bought that.
Hi, this is WGN Chicago. Can we get a mic check, please?
We read you loud and clear. How do you hear us?
But I will. I don't have to, but I will. I will.
You got to talk about this movie because it's autobiographical, right?
Hi, this is WGN Chicago. Can we get a quick mic check, please?
That's true.
We read you loud and clear. How do you hear us?
But all of the inspiration for the film.
Great. We're good with your mic check. We'll be with you in about a minute and a half. And you'll be speaking to Demetrius.
Another, and I love story as well. So I wanted to write a love story. Be on the good guy side, which is right here.
Before we let you go, you said something before we went on the air, something about after you kicked your addiction. What was it about the...
Two, three.
Oh, this
there
kind of wave.
Yes, I want to be on the Friday dance. Thanks, guys.
You can see a screening of
I want to make
Animals,
Friday
May
dance.
22nd at 745 Gene Siskel Film Center. Hey, Demetrius.
Hey, and the International Space Station is hovering thousands of miles above the Earth. Now 2 astronauts on board. Terry Virts and Scott Kelly are joining us live to talk about the ISS and how life is there. Station, this is WGN-TV. Do you hear me?
We've got you loud and clear, Demetrius. How do you hear us?
I hear you loud and clear also. Now, good morning from Chicago. First off, I just need to put it out there. Have you guys seen this show? Because it's hard to believe that someone at NASA would approve this talkback if they've ever watched WGN Morning News.
Neither one of us have ever seen that show. We did just see Chicago a few minutes ago. We just flew over top of Chicago, but we haven't seen the show.
Oh, thank goodness. Okay, first off, we want to know a lot about what life is like aboard the International Space Station. Can you tell us where you are in the space station and just what your day's been like so far?
Yeah, so we're currently in what's called the Japanese pressurized module, and the reason we do these events from here is it's kind of on the forward part of the space station and a little bit out of the way of where all the other crew members might be transiting through as they do their daily work. So far, my day has been filled mostly with some science activities that have to do with the fluid shifts that occur in our brains as a result of being in microgravity in our bodies, and how to potentially figure out if that's a cause of our vision problems. So we're taking a bunch of samples today, putting them in a freezer. That's actually, one of them is in the JPM, and had some exercise and some other things. I don't know what Terry was doing. We kind of stay busy and sometimes are doing these things independent of the other crew members.
And Scott, you're involved with a mission that's going to keep you in space for a year, and we're also going to study your twin, Mark, while you're up there. Can you tell us how that's going so far? You said that you have to give a lot of samples every day. How's it going so far?
Well, we don't do that every day. There's a whole lot of other different types of science that go on here. Some of it is exploration-based. You know, how do we get further from the planet someday? Other science is kind of more Earth-looking, how to improve life on Earth. We say, you know, we're here off the Earth for the Earth. And the stuff with my brother is a small subset of some of that, mostly in regards to the effects of the space environment on our genetics. So, like you said, it does involve taking a lot of samples, and we've actually started that activity, and we'll continue it over the next year.
We've kind of looked into your work schedule, and you guys really have long days. So much work, so many experiments, so many day-to-day things to do. What do you do for fun when you're up there?
Exactly. Scott's demonstrating one of the things we get to do.
Yes.
Another thing that we get to do is take pictures of the Earth and the universe, which is one of my favorite activities. Whenever I get a few minutes, I try and find a window and take a picture of something interesting. Sometimes we'll watch a movie together on Saturday nights. We have a telephone system that is occasionally available. We can call home to friends and family, and so there's not a lot of free time like you mentioned, but when we do have it, there's plenty to do.
Well, Terry, we're showing some of your just phenomenal vines and tweets and things like that. I mean, you are really becoming really popular with what you call Earth art. Tell us what it's like to have the Earth kind of outside your office window, and what it's like to just kind of start to share this with folks who are back here on Mother Earth.
You know, I wish I could describe it with words, but I just can't. And so the photography does a much better job than any words that I could add. It's like trying to describe creation with words is just inadequate. The thing that really sticks out to me, though, that even photography can't capture is the colors that you see, especially during the spacewalk, and even occasionally looking out the window. I've just seen colors that I've never seen before, and especially shades of blue. And so it's fabulous. The Earth is very unique. Seeing sunrises and sunsets is unique. Looking out and seeing the galaxy go by, planets. You know, there's so many different things you can see. I could take an hour just talking about all these things.
And Scott, our producers did some digging. They found out that you actually watched the movie Gravity while they're on the International Space Station. We have a resident conspiracy theorist. His name's Larry here. He let us know that there's a laser that causes all types of trouble in that movie, and now there's talk about putting a laser on the International Space Station to just kind of shoot away space debris. Like playing asteroids?
You know, I had never heard of that before, but, you know, we have an internet connection, and last night I woke up and I was on it for a little bit on a news site, and I saw something about it, and then it kind of, our internet connection froze up or something, and I woke up in the morning and I'm like, did I really see that? So I've never even heard of it really before last night and you mentioning it, but man, it would be pretty cool if we could do that. You know, sometimes we have to move the space station out of the way of debris. I need to learn a little bit more about it. It does sound a little bit science fiction-like.
If you lost internet connection, believe me, you have seen or worked for WGN News. Hey, tell me about what you guys do for fun around there. And also, we wanted to know, what do you do when you need to get away from the co-workers? Where do you go to just hide?
Well, the good news is we have a great group of people here, and it's actually, we enjoy, like Scott said, when we're working, we're kind of on our own all day long, and so it's fun to get together in the evenings and have dinner, or on Saturdays and watch a movie. But the space station is pretty big. It's about the size of maybe 2 747s. It's a big place between all the American modules, the Russian modules. We're in the Japanese module right now. There's a European module. So there's a lot of volume here that you can kind of get off and just spend the day by yourself doing work. But we do enjoy getting together at night to talk, watch TV, or maybe they'll send up your show.
So I want to thank you guys for coming on today. We want to wish you Godspeed and certainly a very successful ending to your mission. Thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you, and hello, Chicago, and great seeing you guys from space today.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the WGN-TV portion of the event. Please stand by for a voice check from Bloomberg TV.
Station, this is Bloomberg TV. How do you hear me?
We've got you loud and clear.
Let's begin with telling everybody, where are you? How many miles above the Earth are you, and what points have you been able to see today?
Well, right now we're about 250 miles above the Earth. We're right over the South Atlantic, in between South America and Africa. And we just passed over New York City, Toronto, New York, and the East Coast about 15 or 20 minutes ago. We took a few pictures, so it was a little bit cloudy. So we're going at 17,000 miles an hour, so we pass points pretty quickly.
Scott Kelly, I'm wondering if you can show us some of your great physical dance moves that you've been able to perfect in zero gravity, while Terry tells us about some of the experiments that he's working on.
Well, I think those that know me well know that I don't have any dance moves. I can flip around a little bit for you, and I'll give the mic to Terry.
Yeah, the ability to float is one of the coolest parts about being in space. One of the things we'll miss when we get back to gravity. We do a lot of different science here, Pim. It's a world-class laboratory. There's a lot of human physiology experiments that we do. Scott and myself and several other crewmates have been doing a lot of different eye testing and different human samples today. There's a material science laboratory that we have. Physics, basic physics, astronomy. So basically every discipline in science, there's some type of experiment that we're doing here.
All right, it's time for Scott to answer a question, and this would be, is there something specific that you want to accomplish during your time in the space station?
Well, there are a lot of scientific objectives to this flight. There are the one-year science objectives, which are many. There's this experiment, comparative study with my brother and I. There's all other kinds of research that goes on. Almost 400 different scientific experiments will go on for the entire year that I'm here. But, you know, and those are all very, very important. My personal goals, however, is that we be safe, no one gets hurt, we complete as many of our mission objectives as we can, and also meet the first two, and then we all leave here as friends.
Is there anything that drives you crazy about each other, Scott?
I don't have time to answer that.
Nope.
Terry?
No, we're very lucky. We have a great crew here, and like I was saying earlier, we have a busy work day. Usually it's like 7 in the morning to 8 at night often, and we're usually on our own doing our own experiments and work, and so in the evenings we enjoy getting together and hanging out together. So we're very lucky to have a good group of American, Italian, and Russian crewmates.
And let me just add to that real quick, to
Scott,
my very brief statement.
Tourists using Branson to check out space as adventurers.
I think it's great. You know, this is a really remarkable place. It's a privilege to be able to come here and represent your country, and my colleagues, representing their countries as well. Terry and I are the only two Americans up here right now. So, yeah, I think it's a great thing. I think, it's going to take some time, but, we're very serious, industrious, talented people, and we'll solve that problem someday. And hopefully in the future, maybe the not too distant future, people will have the opportunity to whether go to, low Earth orbit, hopefully, but if not, suborbital flight and see the Earth and all the beauty and the great things we get to experience by flying in space.
Terry, how have you managed to stay in shape in a microgravity environment?
That's one of the most important things we do here, because obviously your muscles and your bones would waste away if you didn't exercise. So every day they give us an hour of aerobics, either on a bike or a treadmill, and an hour and a half of weightlifting. And I did that this morning. And you basically do that every day for 6 months or a year in Scott's case, and you stay in pretty good shape. The folks that come back after these long duration space missions are in remarkable shape when they get back to Earth.
Scott, what about being able to monitor your own health while you're there in the space station? Do you use any of those consumer devices like a Fitbit or any kind of wearable technology?
Well, when we do the aerobic exercises, we have a heart rate monitor, but it's nothing, state of the art. I'm sure there's some off-the-shelf stuff that is a little bit more advanced than what we're using up here. But it takes a long time to certify stuff for space flight, and it's very expensive. So if we have something that works, we tend to stick with it. And we also have a great team of people on the ground, whether it's our flight surgeons or exercise specialists, the biomedical engineers. So, unlike maybe people on Earth, we have a whole team that backs us up, which is really great to have.
Terry, I'm wondering if you could speak a little bit about your sleep patterns and also what kind of food are you eating?
Sleeping in space is wonderful. It's one of my favorite things about being up here. I have a sleeping bag, climb in the sleeping bag, and I don't Velcro it to the wall or tie it off or anything. I just float in this little cabin that we have. Each of us has his own sleeping cabin, and that's really fun. During the week, I think most folks sleep between 6 and 7 hours a night, and then on the weekend, when we're not working, some weekends are work weekends, but if I get a day or two that I can sleep in, that lets me catch up. But the sleeping is one of the best parts about being up here.
And what about eating? What's your favorite food? What's a typical intake for the day?
So the food here is pretty good. We have a team in Houston that makes us food. We've got meats and vegetables and side dishes and desserts and fruits. Not a lot of fresh fruit. That comes up whenever we have a cargo ship. They'll put a few apples, oranges, or something like that on there, but they don't last that long. So all the food that we have is either dehydrated food that we have to add water to, or it's in the style that our military members use in their MRE, the green bags of food. But it's a pretty good variety, actually. It's much better than what I would be eating if I were a bachelor having to cook for myself. And there is some variety. Of course, there's stuff that we miss about Earth, and looking forward to getting some home cooking when I get back. But the food here is pretty good.
Scott Kelly, is there a particular book that you would recommend people read in order to get a better understanding of what it's like to do your job?
Not that I'm aware of. I don't know. Maybe Terry has a better idea.
Well, my favorite books about space are ones about the Apollo program. Andrew Chaikin and others have written a lot of great books about Apollo. There was a book, Dragonfly, about the Mir station that describes some of the challenges that the astronauts and cosmonauts faced. The book 2001 I read when I was a teenager, and that was awesome. It's amazing. We actually watched part of that movie recently up here. How many of those things came true, even though that was over 50 years ago that Arthur Clarke wrote that book. So there's a lot of good books about space. The question is, do you want to read science fiction or do you want to read science fact about what it's really like up here?
want to thank you, gentlemen, very much. Have a great trip.
Thanks. Great talking to Bloomberg, and thanks, Ben. We appreciate it.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the event. Thank you.